totally in the right to do that. Like it was totally legal.
Yeah, it was totally legal for him to do that. But when we were kids, I'm sure you were taught the same thing. Like when you leave a job, A, you don't leave on bad terms. B, you just you give 2 weeks notice. Like you can you're supposed to give some type of notice, but if you want to be professional, you give them 2 weeks.
Right.
You know,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, there's been a few rare times when I didn't give 2 weeks notice, but most of the time I did.
yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
I did walk out on a job as a gas attendant.
So there was nobody running a gas station somewhere.
No, there was. I was just fucking fed up with shit because like basically there'd be other people there, like they'd be having fun. Like this one dude had this chick come over all the time, and they'd be like making out on a stool while I'm handling all the customers. Which on one hand is cool because I'm getting all the tips, but on the other hand, like I'm the one busting my ass, so it sucks, and I'm smelling like gas and shit.
Yeah.
So like. I came in and I don't even remember how long I worked, but like someone was supposed to come in after me and relieve me, and I think I was just like, "Fuck this," and I like took off my jacket and like just walked home, and I was like, "Screw this, I'm done with this."
This is bullshit!
Kind of, yeah. Kind of took my ball and went home. So I was like, I don't need this shit.
Yeah, I don't know if I ever told you, man. I actually walked off a job. I think my second day on the job.
Nice.
It was my first job ever. I was hired as a dishwasher.
Oh, yeah, I
in a
do
local
remember
country club.
this.
Yeah,
That asshole chef or whatever.
yeah. And from what I remember, it was kind of a sweet gig. It was like, I think at the time, I think it was like $7 an hour, something like that. Part-time gig. All I had to do, run dishes through a power washer and whatnot, fucking stack them back up where they needed to go. That was it. Nobody told me I needed to stack up everything, in a certain order. So my second day, I'm there, I power wash everything, just, getting everything out. Start stacking everything. I get this big fucking angry fat motherfucker bawling chef with like 3 teeth in his mouth.
Captain Anal.
Yep. Comes up to me, starts screaming, "What the fuck is going on? No, you put these here. You arrange these pans by size." I'm
He
like,
was like, not LaFours, what's his name there? Spenning.
yeah, kind
You
of.
put the podium here and you stomp the rug like this. You speak English?
Yeah. Yeah, like not really like it was kind of like a combination of yelling and just like talking down to me as if I was a child. And I'm just like, dude, you know what? I don't have fucking time for your bullshit. So I just said, I looked at the other dishwashers. I said, you know what, guys, I'm done. And I just walked out the fucking door.
That's awesome.
So I had to call up, the head boss because I was owed money for those 2 days. Which was like I think $50 or something like that.
Hmm.
So and the guy was an awesome guy. Like my family and him, we kind of go back because he was always running for local politicians. He was always a good guy. You know, he said, okay, can you come to the restaurant on this day? I'll give you your pay, and we'll call it a day on this. Yeah, so
Hmm.
yeah, totally cool, totally cool. So I stopped by. He's in his office watching a baseball game on TV, and I just I knock on his door. Said, hey, what was his name? Ken, I think. I said, hey, Ken, how you doing, man? He's like, come on in here, sit down for a sec. I was like, oh shit, am I gonna get yelled at? I was like, well, what does it matter? I don't even fucking work for him anymore. But he's like, can you just tell me what happened? What made you, walk off the job? And I said, this is why I didn't like the attitude I was given. This guy, just talking down to me. I don't, I'm one of those guys. I don't care if you're a fucking, a king or, just, somebody lowly on the fucking totem pole. You never ever fucking talk down to somebody like that.
Hmm.
you know, and if somebody does, you know what? You don't. It's not like somebody's putting a gun to your head saying you have to take this bullshit.
Right.
So I basically told him, I said, look, that's why, why I walked off.
And was he cool with that?
He was like, he kind of shook his head like he understood. He's like, all right, I really wish things kind of worked out a little better, but obviously you've made up your mind on this. I said, yeah.
Hmm.
So he goes, all right, he's like, I just wanted to find out like what the reason was. for somebody to walk off like that. I was like, I apologize. I walked off and I didn't come talk to you first, but I just
But you were just not going to put up with it.
I said I did not want to fucking take that bullshit.
Yeah, fuck that.
So, he hands me the envelope with my pay, and he's like, don't worry about going to a bank cashing it. I'll just give you this cash under the table since you were only here for 2 days. So, thanks, again, thanks for coming in. I said, thanks for giving me the shot. And that was it.
Mm.
Long, boring story.
Well, let's shift gears back to the DJ thing. So do you think that there is never going to be a world without terrestrial radio and DJs as we know it?
I think here's the thing. Terrestrial radio has kind of shot themselves in the foot a couple of times. Number one, doing that fucking HD radio bullshit. It's like, oh, okay, well, now I can listen to the same bullshit in high definition now, which is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing that they're doing, the one thing that they at least have in their favor is that they're free.
Yeah.
They're free. You don't have to buy any equipment. Because, you buy a car, you get a fucking radio in it.
Right.
But that's the thing that's kind of catching up with them now is that, anybody that's got like an iPhone or, an Android or whatever have you, like any type of smartphone, they can easily get internet radio on those things, and that's free as well.
Right.
So, and that, granted, okay, yeah, you got to get a new phone every now and then, but still, that's one of those things that's kind of catching up with them.
Yeah. I don't know where I would stand. I think it's for me, it's really hard to picture a world without terrestrial radio and without DJs, like radio as we know it. But at the same time, I do see an awful lot of popularity with, people listening to like MP3s and shit like that, or internet radio, or, YouTube or something. And it seems like something that not a lot of people or not as many people are tuning in. Like, it's slowly fading out. So they're going to have to do something. Sort of like, I hate to compare to wrestling again, but like the WWF did with the Attitude Era, in order to swing the ball, the game back in their court, basically, they had to do something extreme, and they did. So radio is going to have to kind of do something similar to that, where they, do something awesome to bring the listeners back. Because otherwise, I think it might not be so good for terrestrial radio.
Right, but here's the thing, too. Like, the terrestrial radio, another thing terrestrial radio kind of shot themselves in the foot over is that, like, any DJ that got, like, national attention for being, like, a quote-unquote shock jock, which, they weren't trying to be shocking at all. They were just going, like, they were talking about everyday subjects.
Like Stern.
like Stern, like Bubba the Love Sponge.
Mm-hmm.
Guys like that. They basically, like, shut the door on them. Like, oh, you guys are vulgar. We don't want to talk to you guys. We get fined by the FCC. It's like, well, the FCC, the board of officials that A, were not elected into, B, that, never were asked for. And, the thing is, like, if you want to go, you can actually, like, curse and swear all you want on cable TV. It's perfectly okay. Nobody does it, though, because they're afraid, like, oh, well, we're going to get fined. And the reason it's okay for you to do it is because it's a pay service.
Yeah, but they bleep it out and shit. Like, they don't air it.
Exactly. They'll bleep it out because they're like, well, it's a swear word. We're going to get in trouble. It's like, well, you can actually fucking do this. Hence why, like HBO, for example, they can swear all they fucking want.
Right. But you got to pay even more for that.
South Park, they're able to swear unfiltered.
That's true. And now it seems like, to go back to wrestling again, like I watched Raw, I think the last Raw, and I heard Brock Lesnar say bitch. I don't know when the last time I heard someone say bitch on TV was, especially in wrestling.
I don't know. It gets even better when The Rock made his comeback, like 2 years ago. I'm trying to think. No, it was like 3 years ago. He was going up in the Royal Rumble. He was going to face CM Punk for the title.
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman was, doing the promos for CM Punk because of that fucking angle, and, The Rock would always call him fucking Twinkie Tits. And I'm just like, wait, he can say tits on TV? They're not going to bleep that out in this PG-friendly WWE version?
Yeah, seriously.
I'm like, that's kind of fucking cool. All right. But
By the
yeah,
way, speaking of wrestling, have you listened to that Good Mic Work at all?
no, I haven't. No.
You really should, man. I really think you'd dig it.
Well, give it a
Because
plug.
he's really up to date too. Like he watches the modern product and shit, and he has a lot of good points. I gotta say.
Oh, give him a plug, man. Fucking where can people watch it?
He's on YouTube is where I check him out. Just look up Good Mic Work commentaries, and if you're a wrestling fan, you should be listening to him because he used to actually. I don't know much about him. He's kind of elusive. He doesn't really release a lot of personal info, and I respect that. But from what I've gathered from listening to him, he used to actually run a behind the scenes hotline. Like remember, you'd get a magazine and you'd see like the big fucking call this number and get inside info and shit like that. And it was a 900 number.
Yeah.
Well, I never did that, but he did, and he actually, I guess, at one point had one of his own where he had his own like inside info and shit. But like he's been watching wrestling since like the '70s, and he's not as up on the modern shit as probably like most people are, but he does still watch the product, and he's pretty smart, and he's got some good points, like especially about John Cena and like people hating John Cena, but he defends Cena a lot, and he has some good points about it.
Yeah. The only thing I really have, well, there's two things I really have against John Cena. That's it. Which is, he has like the same fucking like 5 move set, which gets fucking boring as hell. And the second one is like, his character is just tired.
And see that's the thing. I think Good Mike Work would agree with you on the second part, but not the first, because his point is John Cena has had good matches, and he's had good matches as recently as the match with Rusev, I think it was, or Cesaro or somebody on Raw.
There was Cesaro on Raw, which was a great match. There was his first match against Kevin Owens, was fucking awesome.
So, right. So, he says,
right,
Cena is capable of having great matches, but he does agree that the character is tired. But his point to that is you have to think like the WWE. This is the PG era. That's kind of his flagship guy because that's the guy they can rely on. He's not going to go anywhere in all likelihood. He's bringing in the bucks because kids are watching him and buying the T-shirts and shit. So he's really not going to become a heel because otherwise there goes all that merchandise money. So, unfortunately, as long as John Cena is breathing, he's probably going to be in the WWE, and he's probably going to be a heel. And his point is you just have to accept the fact that at least for now, he's away from the title. He's maybe the U.S. title, yeah, and maybe that's weird, but at least it's not the fucking world title.
Now, you see, I gave the same information to a couple girls. I gave them a pill, and I said, no, you're just going to have to take it. See how creepy that sounds? Like, you just have to accept it.
It's true. It is creepy. Well, it's creepy when you put it like that. Jesus. I don't think I put it anywhere near like that. Like, you just have to take this pill called John Cena. Deal with the Cena Conrana.
If you take the blue pill, Cena stays the hero. If you take the red pill, who am I kidding? Either way, you're gonna get raped. But, like, that's the thing. Like, I never said John Cena cannot have good matches. He can. He absolutely can. But my thing is just, like, he uses the same fucking... Even like, Ziggler took a dig at him, like, a couple of years ago at a fucking, at Comic-Con, I think. Somebody's asking him, like, would you rather be a heel or a babyface? And he gave the explanation of, like... And I'm paraphrasing here, but he's like... that's the thing. You never know what you're going to do in this business. You have fun doing both of them, but, if the people cheer for you, you're a babyface. If they boo you, you get in the ring and you take John Cena's 5 moves of death. And you hear the crowd just going, oh! And the camera kind of pans to the right, and you just see Mick Foley give that face like, oh, shit, he's going to get in trouble.
And you wonder why Ziggler hasn't had a push.
Well, that's the thing. He's had so few pushes. It's like when he has been pushed, he's knocked it out of the fucking park.
Yeah.
I'll fucking A. He got that massive fucking push at Survivor Series, but that probably wasn't going to happen because if Roman Reigns was healthy, that was not going to happen. Yeah.
The other thing GMW says is that he thinks that Roman Reigns is the next John Cena, the guy that. Like, WWE is just shoving down people's throats, and no one wants to fucking see him, and it's just going to get even worse.
Yeah, and that's kind of the thing. Like, even Jericho kind of addressed that on his podcast, which, I listen to Chris Jericho's podcast. It's pretty fucking cool. Um,